Imagine the exact moment your free will dies. Not with a bang, not with tanks in the streets, but with a silent software update pushed to your phone at 3:17 a.m. while you sleep. One line of code, 0.4 kilobytes, silently flips a single hidden flag inside the operating system. And from that second forward, every camera, every microphone, every keystroke you make is no longer yours. It belongs to them. You will never receive a notification. You will never see a pop-up. You will simply wake up inside a world that already knows what you are going to do tomorrow, next week, next year, and has already decided whether you will be allowed to do it. This is not speculation. This is the documented endgame of a 30-year plan that reached its final acceleration phase in 2025. And what you are about to hear is the most complete, unflinching minute-by-minute timeline of how governments and their corporate partners built the quantum cage that is snapping shut around 8 billion human minds right now. To understand how we arrived at this precipice, we have to go back to a freezing January night in 1999 inside a nondescript office park in Langley, Virginia. A small team of CIA technical officers and DARPA contractors gathered around a humming Cray supercomputer running an experimental program called Echelon Next. Their goal was simple but monstrous: create the first global dragnet capable of intercepting every telephone call, fax and email on Earth in real time. They succeeded within 18 months. The public would not learn about it for another decade, by which time the system had already been upgraded to drink directly from the fire hose of the commercial internet. What began as a Cold War relic morphed into something far more dangerous when, in 2007, a quiet amendment to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act created Section 702, the legal fig leaf that allowed the NSA to collect the domestic communications of American citizens without a warrant, so long as one end of the conversation touched a foreign server, which, in the age of Gmail and Facebook, meant literally everything. From that moment on, the distinction between foreign and domestic surveillance collapsed, and the era of mass suspicion was born. Fast forward to 2013, Edward Snowden's leaks revealed that the NSA had not only achieved total collection, they had built permanent backdoors into the encryption standards that protect online banking, medical records, and e-commerce worldwide. The specific vulnerability, a poisoned random number generator called dual ECDRBG, had been secretly inserted into international standards by the NSA itself. When cryptographers finally proved the backdoor in 2014, the agency's response was chilling. They didn't deny it. They simply classified the investigation and moved on to the next weakness. That same year, researchers at Google quietly demonstrated the first practical quantum computer capable of running Shor's algorithm, the mathematical sledgehammer that can shatter virtually all public key encryption in seconds. The implications were immediate and apocalyptic. Every secret ever protected by RSA or elliptic curve cryptography, every military plan, every corporate trade secret, every embarrassing photo you thought was safely encrypted, became retroactively vulnerable the moment a large-scale quantum machine came online. Governments knew this day was coming. They had known since the 1990s, and instead of warning the public, they weaponized the transition. By 2020, the race had become public, but only in the most sanitized way possible. China announced the world's first quantum secure communication network spanning 2,000 kilometers between Beijing and Shanghai. The United States countered with the National Quantum Initiative Act, funneling tens of billions into laboratories that the average citizen will never be allowed to visit. Britain, France, Russia, India, Israel, and even Singapore launched their own crash programs. Beneath the polite language of scientific cooperation lay a far darker truth. The first nation to achieve quantum supremacy plus artificial general intelligence would not merely win the technology race, they would achieve permanent, irreversible hegemony over the planet, because once and for all, no invasion required, no nuclear exchange necessary, just the quiet click of an algorithm rewriting reality itself. Let us now descend into the machinery itself. The black box cathedrals where this future is being forged. Hidden beneath the Utah desert lies the NSA's billion-dollar data center in Bluffdale, a facility whose power consumption rivals a medium-sized city and whose stated purpose is to store 1 yottabyte of data, enough to record every human conversation on Earth for a century. In 2025, the facility completed its long-awaited quantum retrofit. Rows of dilution refrigerators cooling superconducting chips to 4 millikelvin, each one capable of holding thousands of logical qubits in perfect entanglement. These machines do not merely crunch numbers faster, they explore every possible future simultaneously. When fed the complete fire hose of global internet traffic, social media exhaust, financial transactions, satellite imagery, drone feeds, and biometric databases, they can reverse engineer the psychological state of entire populations in minutes. One classified project, codenamed Harvest Moon, reportedly achieved the ability in late 2024 to predict riots, 48 hours in advance with 92% accuracy across 15 test cities. The riots were then preemptively dispersed using automated drone swarms and precision social media blackouts. The public never knew they had almost risen up. Meanwhile, in Britain, GCHQ's donut-shaped headquarters in Cheltenham has quietly become the nerve center of the English-speaking world psychological operations. Leaked budget documents from 2025 reveal that more than 40% of the agency's spending now goes to influence and behavioral modification programs powered by generative AI. One subsystem, internally nicknamed JTRIG Quantum, can create millions of synthetic personas per day, each with believable posting histories stretching back years, and insert them into every corner of the internet to steer conversations, discredit dissidents, and manufacture consensus around whatever narrative the government requires this week. During the 2024 British riots, these synthetic accounts flooded local Facebook groups with rumors of immigrant violence that never actually happened, inflaming tensions exactly where the authorities needed public support for new emergency powers. By the time fact-checkers arrived, the damage was done and the laws were passed. But the most terrifying frontier is not surveillance or propaganda. It is direct intervention inside the human mind. Since 2018, DARPA has been funding multiple tracks under the umbrella of the N3 program, next-generation non-surgical neurotechnology, with the explicit goal of reading and writing brain states without implants. By 2025, Battelle Memorial Institute, one of the lead contractors, demonstrated a system that uses focused ultrasound and temporal interference to stimulate specific neural circuits through an intact skull from up to 50 meters away. When combined with real-time EEG feedback loops, the device can induce drowsiness, anxiety, or even temporary amnesia in targeted individuals. The delivery mechanism? The same 5G and 6G small cells that blanket every major city, originally sold to the public as faster Netflix streaming. A classified addendum to the U.S. Army's 2025 Field Manual on Urban Operations openly discusses non-kinetic neural effects as a standard tool for crowd control. In plain language, they can now switch off your ability to resist without firing a single bullet. Across the Pacific, China has taken the concept even further. The city of Rongcheng has been running a fully operational brainwave credit system since 2023. Citizens who consent to wearing lightweight EEG headbands during work hours receive bonus points for sustained focus and emotional stability. Those who refuse are quietly downgraded in every other metric: slower internet, longer queues at hospitals, children denied top schools. By 2025, more than 40 million people had voluntarily submitted to constant neural monitoring in exchange for a marginally better life. The data is fed into a quantum-enhanced model that can now detect pre-hostile ideological tendencies with chilling accuracy. Once flagged, individuals are invited to mandatory emotional health retreats where, according to defectors, they are subjected to weeks of AI-guided hypnosis and low-dose psychedelics until their thought patterns realign with party expectations. The West condemned the program, publicly while quietly licensing the underlying patents for its own prison system. And then there is the final layer, the one that turns all of this from horrifying to apocalyptic. The merger of quantum AI with programmable money. Every major central bank is now committed to launching retail, central bank digital currencies by 2028 at the latest. These are not cryptocurrencies. They are fully controlled liabilities of the state with embedded smart contract logic. The Bank of England's own technical papers describe the ability to set expiry dates on citizens' money, restrict purchases by merchant category, or freeze accounts based on real-time behavioral scoring. When that scoring is performed by a quantum AI that already knows your neural signature, your search history, your gait pattern from street cameras, and your heartbeat variability from your smartwatch, the concept of personal autonomy collapses completely. You will own nothing, you will control nothing, and the algorithm will decide whether you are allowed to eat tomorrow. The pattern has repeated throughout history. Every leap in information technology has been followed by a leap in social control. The invention of writing enabled tax collection and standing armies. The printing press birthed propaganda and religious wars. The internet promised liberation and delivered mass surveillance. Quantum AI is simply the final boss, the control grid that has been under construction for 70 years. The difference this time is that there will be no external refuge. There is no frontier left, no wilderness to flee to, no underground press that cannot be traced in picoseconds. The cage is global, instantaneous, and self-improving. Yet even now, in the 11th hour, cracks are appearing. Whistleblowers inside the quantum programs are risking everything to leak source, code, and hardware schematics. Decentralized teams are racing to build quantum-resistant encryption that runs on ordinary laptops. Offline AI models are being distributed on USB drives in parking lots and churches, mesh networks that route around. Censorship is springing up in cities from Tehran to Minneapolis. The same mathematics that allows superposition also allows unbreakable privacy if enough people choose to use it. The war is not over. It has only just begun. What you do with the next 5 years will determine whether your children inherit a planet of slaves or a renaissance of human sovereignty. The quantum deception is real, it is here, and it is hungry. But it is not invincible. It was built by men and women who still breathe, who still have families, who can still be reached by truth spoken without fear. The algorithm has no soul, we do. And that, in the end, is the only advantage we have left. The choice is yours, right now, today. Will you scroll on, comforted by the illusion of safety, or will you become one of the sparks that burns the whole thing down? The cage is closing, but cages can be broken from the inside if enough hands push at once. The clock is no longer ticking. It has already struck midnight. What happens next is no longer up to them. It is up to you.